Hello, everybody. Welcome to Storm Log number 7 of the Scudbuster Diaries Flagler County Storm Chasers. My name is Ed Sharkovich, and today we're going to take a look at our top weather chases that we did during 2017. Last year, we went out on a total of 77 weather-related events. Today, we're going to take a look at 13 of them, beginning with the tornado outbreak of January 22nd. Take a look at the pink circle that's happening here over northeast Florida and southeast Georgia. This bulletin was put out by the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, and it was unprecedented. Our area had never had an extreme chance of having severe large tornadoes before. If we take a look at a bulletin put out by the Flagler County Emergency Operations Center, you can see these areas in pink that cover our area gave us a great likelihood of severe tornadoes taking place. Looking at the forecast from the National Weather Service in Jacksonville, especially the areas that are underlined in red, they called it a particularly dangerous situation. And reading on the right-hand side here, word for word, to emphasize how rare this is, we have never had a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch issued for our area before. You need to take this situation extremely seriously, like you would a potential hurricane. Wow. I was on my way back from Washington, D.C., and had to circumnavigate several tornado-warned areas through southeast Georgia, and this was the scene coming into Jacksonville. Every single electronic billboard over I-95 had a severe weather warning, causing us to issue extreme caution. When we finally got back into Flagler County and Palm Coast, where this white circle is, look what was going on. Look at all this stuff. We had a total of 5 severe thunderstorm warnings taking place and an additional 5 tornado warnings, all taking place in central Florida, heading to the northeast into our general area. Crazy. Never happened before. Most of them faded away, fortunately, and what wound up taking place was 2 separate tornado warnings happening at the same time. This was right around 7:30 in the evening. And taking a look, dark red is very severe weather. Pink is potential hail. The red boxes are the tornado warned areas, and my location is right here in the middle of it. I was parked in the vicinity of the Palm Coast Parkway Hammock Bridge. These 2 tornado warned cells wound up fading away, which was great, and we wound up with a lot of lightning and some strong wind as seen in this video here. So here we are parked underneath the Hammock Bridge, warning people not to go south on A1A. Looking towards the south, there was a tremendous amount of lightning that took place. Fortunately, nothing materialized, and that ultimately is good. Let's move forward a couple months now to April the 10th, the Monday after Easter Sunday, and we were expecting just a regular sunrise down at South 5th Street in Flagler Beach. Instead, what we were greeted with was not 1 funnel cloud moving ashore, not 2 funnel clouds, but 3 funnel clouds all happening at the same time. Amazing. We reported it to both emergency management and to the National Weather Service, and they sent out a bulletin. Let's take a look at the video. Here we are on the walkover right across from 7-Eleven, and here's one of the funnels coming right on shore. May the 4th saw our first big rain event for the year. We had some torrential downpours that actually came into place. Taking a look at what the National Weather Service put out for us, Palm Coast is right down here on the bottom, and you can see southern Flagler County is just above the line where we're expecting to get very heavy rains. Taking a look at the radar that came across us that day, you can see this very strong line of storms that built up. We are positioned in the blue circle right here, and as this moved over towards the coast, all of it dumped straight down on the beach. Let's take a look at the video. So we are just north of Martin Steakhouse right now. This is all Hurricane Matthew repair, and the amount of water that was built up on the sides of the road was tremendous. As it started to put pressure on the dune just gave away, completely washed out onto the beach. Moving ahead to May 24th. Take a look at this creepy line of stuff that's coming in over the Intracoastal. I'm actually parked on the side of the road just north of Marineland. These houses right here are the Summer Haven neighborhoods that are just south of Matanzas Inlet. Let's take a look at what the National Weather Service had to say. Tornado watch in effect from Savannah, Georgia, all the way down to Orlando, including Flagler County. They called for heavy rainfall and localized flooding. That morning at 6:34, there was a tornado that had gone through Crescent Beach area. My blue circle is down here in Flagler Beach. I started to head north to take a look at the area, and then right here, 8:28 a.m., I'm parked just north of Marineland. You can see this non-tornado warned cell starting to move across towards the east. And even though there was not a tornado warning in effect, what wound up happening earned me the first step of my reputation for having a high squeaky voice on Flagler County Assist React Radio during tornado events. Let's take a look.
React 12 is going to be taking over at 9 a.m.
I've got a tornado on the ground just south of Matanzas Inlet where they're doing tornado on the ground just south of Matanzas Inlet where they're doing the dune restoration across from Summer Haven.
Oh, tornado on the ground south of Matanzas, just south of where they're doing the dune restoration.
That is correct. It touched down on the Intercoastal, crossed over A1A, went out over the construction area, just went out over the ocean, and my view is blocked, but it appears to have dissipated, but it lasted for about 28 seconds.
So that was very unexpected. 13 days later, on June 6th, another unexpected event happened, an EF1 tornado that came very close for comfort, actually too close for comfort, taught me a very valuable lesson. Here is the setup. From my location here in Palm Coast, this storm was starting to build between Palatka and Stark, moving towards the east, right along State Route 206 in actuality. And according to this hail signal, there was potential for half-inch diameter hail. I decided to go up and take a look, and as I got close to the area, suddenly they put a red box around it, gave it a tornado warning. As I'm heading north on US 1 here, this little white box showed up on my radar saying that I was within the tornado's damage path. I started to slow down, and right in front of me, this thing came right across the road and clipped the front of my van, ripping this black piece of plastic off. As I watched this thing pass in front of me, the rain initially was horizontal towards the right-hand side. The van listed towards the right, and then the rain went to the left horizontally. The van listed towards the left. We had been struck by a tornado, and it was unexpected. Also very dangerous. This was the second time that my voice got very high and squeaky on Flagler County Assist React Radio, so much so that my good friend Steve Ripley over here drove up from Palm Coast to come to my rescue and make sure that everything was okay. He actually helped me to manage traffic flow until law enforcement and St. Johns County first responders could come and assist. So here is what happened. This tornado came across, snapped off these pine trees. You can see this raw edge sticking up here in the middle, crossed US 1. Fortunately, nobody was injured, but on the opposite side of the road, this tree trunk completely twisted around. Here's some video footage of the damage on US 1. Here we are on the southbound side of US 1. This is a group of landscapers that was behind me. They had stopped to cut up the trees that were blocking both southbound lanes. What a mess. You can see everybody moving over to the median, trying to get past. Everybody was very fortunate not to have been hit by this. The damage path from that EF1 tornado extended well past US 1. The next day, I went over towards some of the neighborhoods off of State Route 206. There were many trees that were down, some very large diameter branches that were also down, and the National Weather Service in Jacksonville actually sent some of their meteorologists down to take a look at the damage path, and based on what they saw, they gave this an EF1 tornado rating. Pretty big. July 25th took us up into Crescent Beach. This is the 206 bridge as it comes into the barrier island. This impressive looking shelf cloud here originally started off looking like this over at 206 and US 1. You can see our location here on the radar. As we followed it beachside and kind of hid under the bridge there for cover, it wound up looking like this. At this point, the camera is nice and wet, but there it is. That is our next one. August the 2nd brought us down to High Bridge Road and A1A. This really nice, impressive looking shelf cloud was working its way over towards the ocean. You can see the edge of the shelf happening right here. Big column of rain happening behind it. And this whole thing right here was starting to rotate. So as we sat in our location here in this blue circle, the leading edge started to drop this funky looking thing down, and this right here began to rotate. With expectation, we jumped into our vehicle, went over towards the beach, but all that wound up happening from this was a bunch of pretty serious looking scud clouds. But I wanted to put this in here because this is important. These look tornadic. They look like they're going to drop down into either tornadoes or water spouts, but they don't rotate. They don't cause any damage. They are called scuds. 12 days later, same location, August the 14th. Here's another shelf coming in, equally as impressive right here on the edge. This also was beginning to rotate. And then out of nowhere, this thing here started to develop. This isolated area began to rotate very slowly. Here's our position on the radar, taking a look at this as it's working towards us. Looking at it a little bit closer up, it's pretty funky. Everybody that's looked at this has been somewhat amazed by it because it is extremely unique. Let's take a look at September 1st. We are up at Matanzas Inlet. A very large shelf cloud passed right over us. This spiky looking thing right here is known as inflow, where you've got air that's getting sucked up into the severe thunderstorm. As we take a look at the forecast from the National Weather Service for the day, they said isolated strong to severe storms possible this afternoon. Spotters are asked to self-activate if warnings are issued. We definitely self-activated, and at our position right here by Matanzas Inlet looking towards the northeast, this storm was given a hail signature, and the hail was estimated at 1.25 inches in diameter. Looking straight up, this area began to rotate immediately over us. It dissipated, didn't really turn into anything. A lot of fun anyway, and then it turned into a lightning event. I shot these pictures out of the side of my van window, nice and protected inside from the storm. All right, we're coming down the home stretch. Number 10 on our list happened on September the 10th, and that was Hurricane Irma. Hurricane Irma drove everybody crazy for the better part of a week as we all tried to figure out where it was going to go, and it nearly came right over the top of us. So Hurricane Irma had a number of effects on Flagler County. Number one was the devastating storm surge that happened on the intercoastal side of Flagler Beach. This is from the top of the State Route 100 bridge, looking both north and south. Significant amount of water that had come inside of people's homes was very upsetting. Up in the Hammock, there were some dune washover areas. This is right by the south side of Washington Oaks Garden State Park near the Ocean Shore Villa. You can see water accumulating here from the ocean and along Ocean Avenue. Storm surge also happened out at Crescent and Dead Lake and Bull Creek. This is the Bull Creek restaurant, had become entirely surrounded by floodwaters. Remember that Crescent Lake and Dead Lake and Bull Creek are connected to the St. Johns River through Dunn Creek, which makes it tidal in nature and open to storm surge inundation. Rainwater that fell down along A1A washed out in some weak points that had been left weak since Hurricane Matthew. And there was a washover once again just south of Varn Park. You can see some of the material here that had crossed A1A. Dune erosion from high surf took place once again up in Painters Hill. Many folks up there lost some of their property and their walkovers and watchovers. Wind damage was pretty prevalent throughout the county. The Flagler Beach Public Library took a very heavy hit, losing a good chunk of their roof. And last but not least, with Hurricane Irma, was the EF1 tornado that came in right at Washington Oaks Garden State Park, crossed over the Intercoastal Waterway through Princess Place Preserve and into the Ag Museum. And also associated with that was a rear flank downdraft that happened at the River to Sea Preserve in Marineland. A rear flank downdraft is like a big column of air that rushes down towards the ground, spreads out, and in this particular case, it collapsed the picnic pavilion and pushed it off of its foundation. Hurricane Irma was a force to be reckoned with. Less than a month later, October 1st, a nor'easter came to town. This is alongside A1A up by North 17th Street, 18th Street, somewhere in that area up there. And again, water everywhere. This time not from storm surge, but from rainfall accumulation. Top left-hand picture is from the L section. These pictures through here are in the hammock, and down in Flagler Beach, once again, standing water everywhere. Not getting into people's homes this time, but certainly acting like a nuisance, and that is classified as nuisance flooding by the National Weather Service. The strong onshore winds also brought plenty of plastic onto our beaches. Also, a bottle from Cuba that was marked 1957, and a propane tank from the Keys, another remnant of Hurricane Irma. Some of the flooding that happened in South Flagler Beach, like we see here on South Flagler Avenue, was pretty significant, so much so that the city wound up installing these diesel-operated pumps to try and remove some of the area. But once again, very disheartening looking at a return of water coming into place, partly because of rainfall and partly because of a king tide that affected our area. But looking at possessions roadside with water coming back into town was very upsetting. We're almost at the end. Here we are, Thanksgiving. And with Thanksgiving, once again, came heavy rains into our area. Let's take a look at some of our viewer rain totals that were sent in from this storm. Flagler Beach, 4¼ inches. North 5th Street, Flagler Beach, a little bit over 4½ inches. W section, 5½ inches. A little bit further south in the W section, 5.2 inches. F section, 6.26. Palm Coast Stables off of US 1 at Palm Coast Parkway, 7 inches, and the R section, 8 inches of rain. Normally, Flagler County gets a little under 50 inches of rainfall per year. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, we were at over 70 inches, and with the rain that we've had since, I think we're near 100 inches of rain, record-breaking for 2017. Local damage that took place from this heavy rainfall around Thanksgiving was seen over at Lee and London Drive. You can see how this entire culvert area had eroded away. The drop-off from the road surface was 5 feet down to the bottom. This sidewalk had been undermined, and shortly after this picture was taken, it collapsed. But the National Weather Service has a motto that says, "Turn around, don't drown." You can only imagine what would happen here if you had come off this road, had lost track of where you were because of the amount of water that was covering the area, drove off the road surface into this. Your car would be submerged, your life would be at risk. So once again, don't ever drive into areas that you don't know what's happening beneath the water surface, no matter how familiar you are with the area. Finally, we're going to wrap it up. Number 13 was December 11th, our frost event that happened for the fall. This was the scene up in the BA section of Palm Coast. Frost on the rooftops, frost on the grass, and with that was a hard freeze warning that covered western Flagler County. The morning temperatures were 34 degrees up in Palm Coast, 32 degrees down by Corona. When we went out that morning, it was a crisp 33 degrees, and there was frost everywhere, including on this couch, which had been put out by the roadside for garbage day. So here we are, the end of 2017, and it's been a heck of a year for Flagler County. But let's take a look at this Floyd Rock that was covered up by Hurricane Matthew, uncovered by Hurricane Irma, and it gives us a very good lesson. Back in '99, Hurricane Floyd was a monster storm that was off of our coast. None of us were really sure how severe it was going to be as far as impacts go for Flagler County, but you are always stronger than the circumstances that surround you. As tough of a year as it's been, and with not really knowing what's going to happen next year, keep your chin up. It's going to be just fine. Flagler County sits at the bottom of a 10,000-foot Doppler radar blind spot. There are 2 Doppler installations that provide Northeast Florida with weather information. One is up in Jacksonville to our north, and the other one is down in Melbourne. Because these towers are so far apart, the curvature of the Earth causes the beams to intersect at a very high altitude above us. Our job at the Scudbuster Diaries is to go out into severe weather, to report what's happening, and then to give information to the National Weather Service in Jacksonville, as well as Flagler County Emergency Management, so that they can broadcast important information to you so that you can be aware of things that are happening locally. The National Weather Service in Jacksonville has teamed up with Flagler County Emergency Services to provide Skywarn weather spotting classes to all Flagler County residents. Our next class is going to be Wednesday, January the 31st, 2018 from 6 to 8 p.m. That's going to be at Flagler County Emergency Services Building, 1769 East Moody Boulevard, Building number 3, Bunnell, Florida. We love going out into severe weather, but we can't be everywhere all at once. So we're asking for your help. Anytime you see severe weather unfolding, or if you experience storm damage listed here, give us a call, let us know, find us on Facebook, send us a message. We'll send one of our photographers out to document what's happened, providing you with copies for your records and your insurance company, and then taking that information, putting it into the database that the National Weather Service and Flagler County Emergency Management has, and maybe even turning it into another episode of the Scudbuster Diaries. You can take a look at Flagler County Emergency Services website at flaglercounty.org/emergency. There's all kinds of great information on there about how to protect yourself during severe weather. On Facebook, take a look at Flagler Weather Info. It is also run by Flagler County Emergency Services. It has the very best in non-hype weather forecasting, all given by the National Weather Service in Jacksonville. And Bob Pickering has his weather report, Flagler Weather Update, on Flagler Weather Info. Take a look at what he has to say there. All great information about how to stay safe. You can follow us by going to our website, edsharkphotoimages.com/Scudbuster Diaries. We do Facebook Live broadcasts during severe weather as it's happening. You can also watch our episodes on the Flagler County YouTube channel, and Fridays at 8 p.m., channel 492, Spectrum Television. You can watch our episodes there. If you're ready to start giving back to your community, take a look at Flagler County Assist React. It's a group of dedicated individuals that go out into various emergency situations in Flagler County, providing support to first responders and Flagler County Emergency Management. Find them on Facebook, sign up. It's a great way to belong. Thanks for watching. I'm Ed Sharkovich. Have a great night.